Hey guys, how's it going? It's Baggins here, and today we are going to be talking about the big March update. Most likely we're going to be receiving towards the end of this month. However, the patch notes for the PTR are publicly available. I'll put a link to them in the description down below if you want to check them out. But what I thought we'd do today is go through the patch notes and explain exactly what we are getting with this big March update. So first things first, at the top of the patch notes, you can see like the most exciting or the biggest pieces of content that we have coming with this update is a new dungeon or expedition. It's called Tempest's Heart. If you guys want to see a full run of that expedition, I'll put a link up in the top right, also in the description down below. It's pretty cool, although I do think it is very long. It's like the longest expedition. It took us more than an hour to complete, and I think it's probably going to take most groups like an hour plus to complete as well, unless they nerf some of the bosses or like tune some of the content. Along with that, we have a continuation of the main storyline. I actually haven't gone in and checked this out. I'm saving this for when we get to experience it on live, but the storyline is going to continue, and as it says, bring us all the way to the final dungeon, the Heart of the Tempest. We also have a new weapon coming in this patch. It is the Blunderbuss. It's like a mini shotgun. Think about the musket, but with 2 shots, much shorter range. It's got a grappling hook ability, lots of explosives. It's a pretty cool weapon, although it does have a few issues on the PTR. Fingers crossed those are fixed before they come to live. If you want to see a full video of the Blunderbuss in action, again, links up in the top right or in the description down below. Along with this, we also have a new legendary quest for the Blunderbuss. I still think the legendary quests are a bit outdated unless they're going to bring them into the modern era. And in fact, let's just do a quick check on that, shall we? Yeah, interestingly enough, the quest weapon that you can get for the Blunderbuss does seem to go all the way to 600 gear score, which is pretty good. They've one of the issues we have with a lot of the other weapons, like the Great Axe, for example, it's stuck at 580 gear score, which in this day and age just doesn't really do anything, because you need to be 590 or higher to be able to spend umbral shards on it to upgrade it all the way to 625. So the legendary quests for a lot of the weapons are just basically redundant, because by the time you've grinded that weapon out, your expertise is going to surpass this weapon, and you'll be able to buy a nicer drop off of the trading post or something like that. But it does appear that that is not the case with the Blunderbuss. The last argument can go all the way to 625 and is available from 500 to 600. In terms of stats, it looks okay-ish. Constitution, Strength, Enchanted, Vorpal, Keenly Fortified. So maybe actually going for the Blunderbuss. It does sound like this is the same quest. Seek out Wang Tang Z, and it mentions in the last argument quest here as well that the quest giver is Wang Tang Z. So yeah, it would appear to be that you can actually get a legendary weapon from the legendary quest line, which is pretty cool. Other things that are being added with the patch include extra mobs and things to do in the game. This one here is pretty cool. We have Rafflebones, the loot collector. So Rafflebones is a lost NPC. He's one of the guys that has the self-exploding backpacks on, and after 45 seconds he will self-destruct and you won't get any loot. You can kind of think of him as a bit of a loot goblin. For players level 60 or higher, if you fight a Rafflebones that's in a level 60 plus zone, he can give 500 umbral shards, which is pretty good going. And on top of that, you also get an obsidian gypsum, and you're always rewarded a named weapon as well. So potentially this is going to be one to look out for. Maybe if you guys are interested, we can get a video out on the release of the March update for all the locations of Rafflebones. If you guys would like to see that, let me know in the comments down below. He does spawn in every territory across the map. A few other pieces of new or changed content here as well. We have Stinky the Hunter, which is kind of similar to Rafflebones, but this just appears for level 30 players in Weaver's Fen. Same with the Forgotten Yeti, but this is for level 45 and it's in Great Cleave. And then they've added various encounters. They've revamped one of the areas in both Cutlass Keys and Weaver's Fen. And then we've got a bunch of bug fixes here as well, of course. Now from this point, the patch notes do get pretty thick. There's a lot of stuff to go through here, but in order to make this video easier for you guys to digest, I picked out some of the key points and biggest changes that we can see in these patch notes, and we're going to go through those now. So starting off with one of the biggest things from the patch notes, and there is a lot of huge stuff in here, but this is probably one of the most exciting things for the current player base, or at least one of the biggest changes for the active player base of New World. So with War, they're making a change so defenders can no longer spawn on the points. Instead, they can only spawn within the fort. Now this is a huge change, as right now, in case you guys didn't know, defenders win about 80% of their wars, and a large part of it is because they can spawn on the point. If you wipe them, if you get a really good clean kill and you take out like 10 people within 5 to 10 seconds, if it's early on in the war, they'll all respawn straight back on that point, and all of your hard efforts are undone as an attacker. With this change, now wiping the enemy is going to have a significant impact, as they'll have to run all the way back to the point. Now one thing that I will say is, if this means attackers can still spawn on the point after they cap it, this is almost going to flip it the other way around. If attackers can capture one point, they have a really strong foothold world, and we might see those win percentages flip around, where attackers win like a vast majority of the time. They're also going to be increasing the quantity and quality of rewards, so if you guys have ever taken part in a war, you get a war champions cache or something at the end, usually with a pretty crappy item, so sounds like the contents of that chest or cache are going to be better. And another big change here is that they're going to be reducing the number of combatants in a war from 50 versus 50 down to 40 versus 40. Now, I have thought about this myself. It does appear as though war is a big issue for Amazon Game Studios. Since playing back in the closed beta and even earlier, wars have always been a bit laggy at the best, and at the worst, they're just a straight up slideshow unplayable mess. And I've often said that if Amazon can't find like a solution for this, I think a temporary thing that they could do is reduce the number of players in war, because if 20 versus 20 in Outpost Rush generally doesn't lag too much, so maybe they could like look to reduce the amount of numbers, and that seems to be a solution they have gone with. However, they don't mention whether this is permanent or temporary. I hope for the longevity of the game this is a temporary solution, because I do think there is something special about having those big group battles, and 40 versus 40, whilst that still is quite a lot of players, it's not quite the same as a 100-person battle. The other big change here as well is you can now see players' average gear score when they sign up on the war board. I hope that Amazon continue to bring more features or more ways to inspect players in the game, as if you guys have ever done a war roster in New World, you just have a list of names and their level, and that's it. You don't have anything else to go off of. You don't know what weapons they're using, what armor they're using, how experienced they are, what their gear score is. You have no information at all. So to have a little bit more information for the wars, I do appreciate this change quite a lot. Pretty big change here for musket and bow players. Ammo is now going to be infinite, so you don't actually need any bullets or arrows to be able to fire your musket or bow, or in the future blunderbuss, and who knows what else is coming. Now, that being said, as you can see here, you can still use iron, steel, star metal, and orichalcum. Those will just increase the damage your weapon does. However, they no longer count towards weight for your character. So the idea that half of your character's weight is going to be all those bullets and arrows that you're carrying on you is a thing of the past, and the maximum stat count is getting doubled from 500 to 1,000. So pretty big changes here for the musket users, the bow users out there. Those of you who enjoy doing burn or bleed builds, those are going to be quite a bit stronger, as the perks you can get on your rings are going from 5 to 15% to 10 to 30%, so getting doubled in strength. Big change also coming here to the gems in New World. These are the things that you can socket into your armor, and almost across the board they are being buffed. So you can see with the thrust, slash, and striking wall. So this is damage reduction from thrust weapons like spears and rapiers, bows, and muskets. And then also slashing, swords and axes, striking, hammers, and so on and so forth. The damage absorption that you'll get from putting these gems in your armor is going from 3.75% at the highest end to 5%. So a fairly sizable increase there. It's definitely going to be worth considering taking specific gems rather than just a sweeping physical damage absorption, instead taking the particular type of physical damage that you expect yourself to be receiving the most, depending on what sort of role you play and whether you're doing PvE or PvP. And the same with the elemental gems as well. Those are all going from 3.75 to 6%, so you can get 6% fire damage absorption on each individual gem in your armor. Pretty big deal. Definitely going to help with those mutated expeditions where you take void or fire damage. Daily cooldowns are going to be refreshing at 5 a.m. for your server's regional time zone, and weekly cooldowns also at 5 a.m. but on a Tuesday. People have talked about this for a while. In case you guys don't know, the way it currently works in New World right now, if you make a tuning orb or Asmodium or something like that, it goes on cooldown, and then you have to wait until that time again tomorrow to do it again. Whereas now, if you decide to do something late one night and then you get up early the next morning, you can do it again, so you don't have to like sort of stick to this rigid play pattern because you chose to do something on one particular day. You have to do it again at the same time. Now you just wait for the reset at 5 a.m. and you can do it again. I do think one thing that could be interesting to see come out of this is people doing chest runs. If people decide to do their chest runs in the middle of the night or really early in the morning, they could do a full chest run route, wait for 5 a.m. and then do another route again. I don't think I'm going to be doing that, but those of you who are really hardcore grinders, maybe something to consider. Another nice quality of life change here to expeditions. You no longer require 3 people to be present at the entrance. Just the one person with the orb needs to be there. In general, it seems to be something that Amazon are doing over time, is removing these sort of inconveniences in the game. It would have been great if they weren't there to start with, but you know, Azoth going from being like 2 200 to travel to somewhere to 20 max, not needing to pay a ridiculous amount just to have a house in the game on your taxes. You know, just general nice changes like this I do appreciate a lot. You will still need all 5 of your members there to do an elite boss arena, as it's not an instance, it's actually like a physical location and it pulls your party into there, and other people can see you doing the boss, so still gonna need everybody there to do arenas. But expeditions, just one person can run to the entrance now. Pretty good stuff. Speaking of expeditions, if you guys are doing Garden of Genesis, I don't know how many people have had this issue, but for me it happened just a couple days ago on my stream. If you try and line of sight behind the boulders to not get one-shot by the final boss mechanic at Garden of Genesis, sometimes she'll still just one-shot you and completely ruin your run if you're doing a mutated expedition, whereas this should no longer be the case anymore, and I'm very glad about that. Some kind of buffs and nerfs are happening to the Fire Staff with this March update. The frequency at which the burning ticks is going from 1.5 to every 1 second, but the maximum number of stacks you can get on an enemy is going down to half, from 10 to 5. However, the damage per each stack is going from 3% to 6%. So in general, you won't be able to stack as much damage onto an opponent, but that damage will be more extreme and happening more often. So I think all in all, this is going to mean more DPS, or a spike in DPS from the Fire Staff, which is kind of what I would imagine the Fire Staff does. You know, it is a big burst damage kind of weapon. Nice bug fix for my healer friends out there. Apparently, incoming healing efficiency was capped at 50% when it should be capped at 100%. So potentially, on some instances, we might be healing for 50% more, which sounds pretty insane. I don't exactly understand what this means, and I don't know how often this issue is happening, but pretty cool change there. I didn't know that was a thing, and I'm glad it's fixed. Just like with War, the rewards from invasions are being improved as well. So whether you fail or succeed at defending an invasion, you will get an invasion cache at the end of it, and the rewards should be better from that now. A huge change here you can find halfway through the patch notes is you can now open your inventory while you're moving, and this is such a big change. It's something that I've really wanted in the game for a long time. You know, often people ask me if I could show them my gear or show them my life staff, etc., and I have to stop, open up my inventory, show them the character there, whereas now I can do it while I'm on the move, and it's gonna be said that is just a great change. One thing that they're doing to stop people from swapping their gear while they're in the middle of like a, you know, they're running around the corner and they can just swap pieces of armor or something like that, they are gonna have this in-combat system, which basically means that players won't be able to swap abilities or equipment while they're in combat, but if you're out of combat, you can now do it on the fly. So pretty cool little extra system to sort of get around people potentially cheesing inventory swapping while they're on the move. Something that's pretty small, but I do appreciate, and I wanted to include in this video, is when you chop a tree or pick up a piece of flint or mine some iron, sometimes you're going to find a little stash of goods. They have gold, they have motes, and sometimes diamond gypsum in them as well. So I do like this change a lot. Just sort of encouraging you to do things in the world and get rewards for it is pretty awesome. And then also elite boss arena keys. So this is the arenas we're talking about, the Siren, the Spriggan, and the Protector. You have a chance to get a tuning knob for one of those by killing enemies in the elite zone. So I assume this means Reekwater, Eden Grove, Merkgard, stuff like that. Big changes coming in for the Outpost Rush lovers out there. There is no longer going to be a down state. Instead, if you do lethal damage to somebody, you just instantly kill them. This is something that a lot of Outpost Rush players, especially the DPS players, are looking forward to. Unfortunately, means I'm not going to be able to steal as many kills as a life staff user anymore, but I do appreciate that this is something that people have been asking for a long time. You can also queue up for Outpost Rush from anywhere on the map. If you press M for map or G for company, K for character, it'll open up the screen, and then up at the top, you can find a modes section. Interestingly enough, it does say modes, which would hint at there being multiple different things you can queue for. Maybe like a 3v3 arena or a battleground, something like that in the future. That would be pretty cool, Amazon Game Studios. Another big one here that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate is player-to-player collision is being removed from open world, expeditions, and invasions. So you no longer need to worry about getting body blocked by your teammates when you're trying to move out of the way of a boss mechanic, and this I'm very, very glad for. Just like with Outpost Rush, you're also going to be able to queue for wars and invasions from the map, so you no longer need to go sign up at the war board to be involved in either of these pieces of content. Also, elite boss arenas are going to be giving better rewards, so if you guys have any caches from doing arenas, I suggest saving them and holding onto them, as the rewards that you will get out of them will be better in the next patch. And yes, this does work retroactively, so stockpile your chests, open them after the patch, profit. Last 3 changes we have here, the main storyline quests, the ones that require you to go into Amrine Expedition, the Depths, and Dynasty Shipyard. If you are a hermit or if you're a solo player, or simply you're a new player and everybody else on your server is level 60 and you can't find anybody to do the depths with, well, fear not, as now they're going to be adding in solo quests as an alternative to doing the expedition instead. So if you don't have any friends, you can still continue with the main storyline. Some pretty big changes to the economy here. You can sell your house back for half of the gold value. Previously, if you didn't like the location you're in because the taxes had been hiked up, or, you know, the settlement was taken over by another faction, you couldn't really just move your house. It would cost you a lot of gold. Whereas now, at least you get a little bit back. And also, if you have any storage chests in those houses, the amount that they provide in terms of additional storage is being doubled. So those of you who have gold and steel storage chests, each one of those are going to provide 1,000 extra storage space. And if you have 4 of those in your tier 4 house, that's 4,000 extra storage being added to your storage shed. So if you are a big hoarder like me and you store a lot of junk in your Windswood storage shed, well, now you can store even more junk. On top of that, all of these storage sheds are now kind of connected. Previously, what would have to happen is if you were a marauder, you could only move stuff from other green territories. So if Windswood was green and Everfall was green, you could move stuff between those storage sheds, but it would cost you some gold. Whereas now you can do it for free, and it doesn't matter which factions own them. So any item can be moved to any other location in the map. Some people are going to say this takes away from the purpose of owning territories on the map, but for me, I think it's just a bit of an inconvenience again, and I'm glad Amazon are removing it from the game and taking some of the power away from just owning the settlements, because right now it's like the top dogs just get all of the benefits, and if you're a peasant that doesn't have any territories, well, you really do feel like a peasant. So yeah, great change here in my opinion. Really like this one. And then finally, we got a quick little nerf to the Void Gauntlet. It's actually pretty big. The Scream ability, if you play any PvP in New World, you'll know is pretty damn OP. It's now getting nerfed quite significantly. It's only going to be a 1-second route down from 2 seconds. However, I think there is a talent with the Void Gauntlet. If you hit them below 50% health, it'll still be a 2-second route. So yeah, a pretty big nerf to the Void Gauntlet. I would like to see them do something about the Great Axe along with this as well, as now Gravity Well is by far the best CC ability in the game. It's just absolutely insane right now. If you guys have played any Wars or Outpost Rush, you just can't get away from them. So yeah, hopefully there will be some changes coming to the Great Axe. I know there's going to be some Great Axe mains that get upset about that, but Gravity Well is pretty dumb. And that's it. We're back to the initial point here. So once again, guys, if you do want to take a look through all of the patch notes, because there is quite a bit of stuff I excluded here, some changes to the weapons and various bug fixes, fast travel being more responsive, stuff like that. Things that I didn't think were too important for the video, but maybe you guys would find them interesting. Again, link to the patch notes in the description down below. Let me know what you guys think about this March patch. I am very excited for it. I think there's some really, really good changes in here. My only request would be that Amazon do look at that Gravity Well on the Great Axe, because it's silly. And hopefully that the 40 versus 40 solution for Wars is just a temporary one, and that's not something we're permanently going to see. Anyway, guys, as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead and click the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.